I'm not a face man. Allow me, innit? Allow me. That's the face.
I was going to look at you though. Or
that's why you can look at me. We're conversating. We're going to focus on her. Yeah. So, why are you here?
So today is African Emancipation Reparations Day. It's a part of a campaign called Stop the Manganese, which is a campaign that's been running for 6 years, 7th year. And it's about stopping African homicide in English. And this is what we've been going through continuously in a vicious cycle for years. So today we have to represent as a younger generation to support the older generation, because it's almost unfathomable to understand that the UK government paid out millions to slave owners for reparations.
Crazy.
Right? So let's understand.
Billions.
Right. In today's money, up to 100 billion. Yeah?
Right.
Up to 100 billion. So in terms of reparations, everyone knows what that is. Repare in Latin, it means to make amends.
Yes.
And it means an action of repairing. Yeah? That's what it means.
Yes.
So the UK government clearly understood the need to amend relationships with the slave owners.
Yes.
They clearly understood the concept of reparations and the need for them to repair.
Compensation.
Right?
Yes.
So they give them compensation.
Yes.
But when that term or that notion is applied to black people,
it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't apply. It need not apply. That notion does not exist.
Let it go.
Right.
Yes.
So for me, that is a perfect example.
Yes.
The best example I can think of, called institutionalized racism. Now, for those that aren't clear about what it is, because a lot of people aren't 100% sure, because it's so difficult to fully understand. But to clarify, institutionalized racism is a form of racism that is embedded within normal practice in organizations and institutions. This results in strategies, policies and procedures being designed to discriminate and disadvantage black communities. It is seen, but yet you cannot see it. It is everywhere, and yet it appears nowhere. And this is why we are in this vicious cycle, because it's so hard to combat. Institutionalized racism is the real root of our problem. It isn't just about policing, it isn't just about education. Let's get to the root. Let's stop focusing on the different things that amount to very little when we haven't burnt down the root. So the root is institutionalized racism, and when we focus on that, that's when we make real change. That's when we can start saying we can change the national curriculum, because the national curriculum is no longer institutionally racist. Do you see what I mean?
To the choir.
Right? So let's not just focus on police, because if police are institutionally racist, then how do we change them if we don't combat the institutionalized racism part, right? So this is where I come in, because not a lot of people are saying it. Hence why I was gassed when I met you, because no one else weren't really saying it. Everyone got it, understood it, but no one weren't really like...
It is racism. The true racism is the institutional racism. Calling me a name doesn't really affect me, but if I can't get a job, I can't get my CV read, you know, why do I care? Why am I going to care? It's going to be a life of dealing with something no one even acknowledges. Of course, I agree.
Right?
I agree. Yeah.
It's got to the point where it's so rooted in our society, in the imbalance that we have within society. It's such a norm to the point we don't even know how to address it.
And we say to just not address it. That's we cope with it.
Bury your head in the sand.
Bury it and ignore it and just pull through.
Compromise.
One thing about us as a people, we're good at that. We're good at being strong and pulling through. But some things we're not supposed to just stand and accept. Whether or not it's going to stay doesn't matter. We're not supposed to be cool with it. I agree. Okay. Good answer. Second question. What do you think we need to do as a people? Not them, us.
So I've always said the white man's issue is institutionalized racism. And I think for me, in my humble opinion, the issue that black communities have is a lack of unity. That has always been our problem. And the irony of the situation, again, is due to institutionalized racism and slavery, because it was a divide and conquer. So what slave owners used to do is, if they had, for example, 20 slaves, they would give those 20 slaves food to feed 5. Then you'd have 20 black slaves that all have the same objective, that are arguing with one another due to the fact that there's not food enough for all of them. So therefore you divide them and conquer. Thank you. So to this day, we're affected by it.
I describe it as the issue is self-hate. Self-hate is a consequence of the history, and self-hate manifests in the disunity. We don't want to be around each other because of that self-hate. We want to distance ourselves from this L that history gave us. I agree with you, sis. Good answer. Third question, what do you think they need to do? If a politician came up to you and said, what can we do? How would you want us to fix this or change this or make things better? What would you say?
The Black Reformist movement is the movement that I am currently trying to develop. It's all about immediate, realistic, tangible change for black equality and justice. It's also about combating institutionalized racism and black empowerment. And in terms of moving forward, what we want to do is help and work collaboratively, collectively with as many different sectors within the UK to help them implement strategies, policies and procedures to combat institutionalized racism. So instead of those strategies, policies and procedures coming from them, disadvantaging us due to their institutionalized racism, if we can find a way to help every institution, whether it is education, media, fashion and beauty, if we have actual strategies in place, actual law, that means that you follow the 4 BRM pillars, which is accountability, transparency, prevention and inclusion.
Say that again, please.
Accountability is the first pillar. Second pillar, transparency. Third pillar, prevention. Fourth pillar, inclusion.
Okay.
If you apply these 4 pillars to those strategies, policies and procedures, you are accountable for your actions. You have to be transparent about your actions. You have to show that you are preventing institutionalized racism affecting and corrupting your mind and your business. You have to show us that you are doing that. And then you have to include people, include black people into leadership, because then that's another way that we combat institutionalized racism, by making sure that we as black people infiltrate those bigger, higher roles and we can change things.
I'll play devil's advocate just a little bit.
Yeah.
What would you say to the argument that we're only 3% of this population over here? Why should we be more represented than 3% in any of these industries? Why should we if there's only...
I totally understand. So this is so funny because this is my argument, and this has always been my argument about abolition. And so my thing was, if we are 3% in this country, and this is 97% that we are now going up against, and it isn't our country, it wasn't made for us, how dare we talk about defunding the 97%? Let's find a way to help the 3%, because the reality is defunding the police. If the institution is institutionally racist, they're not going to get behind that idea. So therefore we've wasted a lot of time putting energy into abolition of police as opposed to talking about immediate, tangible, realistic things that we can do in this moment. So in terms of the 3%, the irony is judiciary system, I think it is, has 1%. Journalists are 94% in this country. White, sorry. So
that's kind of in time though. 94, we only make 3%, so that's kind of fair.
Right, but they are affected by institutionalized racism. So therefore, if we find ways to get in there and change it from 94 to 70
So first of all, we're a minority.
We're a minority.
And then on top of that, we're dealing with extra pressure.
Right, you see what I mean? So I feel like if we were actually at that point where each institution had that 3%, then we actually could have that argument. But the reality is, we're not even at 3% in the majority of them. That's the irony. We're not even at 3%.
And it's only 3%, so why is it so hard to do with 3% of the people right? Why is it so hard? It doesn't take much if there's only 3% of us. Logical. Last question. What do you think of our petition to make institutional racism as defined by the Macpherson Inquiry a crime?
I think it's amazing, and it's something I fully 100 million% support. I think it's absolutely needed, and it's just a start. I think we need to start somewhere, and for me personally, in terms of the way in which we live, law is obviously something that we all try to abide by, so therefore it makes perfect sense to try to tackle law. So for me, that would always be my first approach, hence why I was very happy to speak to you.
Sick. Marnie, you're a diamond, you're a gem, powerful woman, respect you. Come on, give her a prompt, she's out here. I know you're going to see her on some newspaper somewhere. You know, thank you.
You will.
That's what it was. I appreciate it.
Thank you, honestly.
Just keep it up.